All right, Audrey. So today we are talking to the little us, our younger selves, the version of us who didn't know what was coming in life. They were just trying their best with what they knew about themselves and about the world at the time. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to get into this topic.
Yes, it's a great time to reflect, look into a little bit of grace about, looking back on, the little girl we used to be and realizing she was doing the best she could at the time and tell our younger selves and if we could sit down with her today. So I'm really excited about this and would love to just kick it off with when you were little, what was something you were insecure about?
This is funny because when I was little, I was actually insecure physically, let's say physically, about being skinny, being too skinny because in Cuba and in, I think all of South American countries, the expectation or the body type is like big butt, big boobs, very curvy. And when I was growing up, I was like this. I was like a toothpick, really, really skinny. And even though nobody like messed with me or anything, it was Cuba. There was no bullying or in Cuba. It was just you get how it is. If somebody calls you ugly, you call them ugly back, and that was about it. Nobody really got hard feelings. So nothing really happened, but I did get sometimes self-conscious about being too skinny. But I would say that's about it. No more insecurity game because I've always been very proud of my brain and how I think. And I was very aware that as long as I was like good to people and I had a good mentality on life. Like I didn't have anything to be scared of. But I would say that. What about you? Were you insecure? Or did you get bullied? I know you grew up in the United States, so it's a little bit different.
Yes, I was very much bullied, especially in middle school because I had a I have a back problem. So I'm missing one of the connectors, the vertebrae. So
Yeah.
it's
Since you
called,
were since you were little, I thought that was after the accident.
so it was actually before I was born without it. So I have a
Oh,
defect. It's called spondylolisthesis. And then I fell in gymnastics and it just kind of perpetuated it. And when that happened, I was going into middle school. So I had to wear a full back brace and we were in uniforms. So,
okay.
a white polo over a black back brace, you could see it. And then I had to sit on a bright yellow donut because I couldn't sit comfortably. And if you could imagine being in,
Yeah,
seventh grade, the kids are not nice at all. I mean, they were stealing my cushion, they were poking
unfortunately.
my back brace, like, oh, are you just fat underneath there? Or like, so it was, they were stealing my medication.
Oh my
I had to
God.
have a rolling backpack as well because I couldn't carry any weight. So it's just, the odds were stacked very much against me. But at the same time, I didn't feel like I was enough. That wasn't like the bullying, of course, sucked, but my own internal battle was just like, oh, I'm just not enough. So I wish I could go back and tell the younger me, like, girl, you were doing perfectly fine. You were good to go. Calm
I know.
down.
I wish somebody would told me during my teenage years. Honestly, that it wasn't my responsibility to fix what other people broke, especially when it comes to family. Because I had a lot of family things happen, especially in during my teenage years, like peak from 12 to 16. So, and I took a lot of responsibility for that. That's just always who I am. And I also like I carry a lot of I don't want to say like I'm a very loving person, so I would like just take responsibility for everybody and I would just want to make sure that everyone's okay. But to not I would tell myself to not overdo it and don't put it on myself again because it was not my responsibility, not my duty. Of course, I have to be there for people, but it's not my duty to fix things that I didn't break and that had nothing to do with me, even though there were people close to me. I would tell myself that.
And like just two little girls that went through a lot of trauma growing up.
I feel like everybody's had that, just doesn't everybody doesn't have a podcast. That's what it is.
That's fair. I don't know. I have met some people where it's like, wow, you have gone through nothing and you're and it's
Mm,
they just appreciate life a little bit differently or they may be a little more immature. And trauma
yeah.
does it makes you
It
grow up
really
quickly.
it really does. What about you, Audrey? Were you when were growing up, were you trying to prove something back then? Little Audrey?
I think little Audrey just really wanted my parents to be happy with me. Which is why I think that I wanted to be a doctor and all of these things. I mean, it wasn't really my passion at the end of the day.
Mm,
So I just was striving to be the best for someone else versus now I'm striving to be the best for myself. So, I mean, I think relationships are, whether it's with your family, with someone else, that can really develop you, especially at a young age.
yeah.
So learning just to kind of step away from what others think was a big piece of what I
Yeah.
learned.
No, what you said is really important because that could also turn into people pleasing. And I know myself, I struggle with that a little bit. Again, trying to satisfy my parents all the time because for them and the way I grew up, which like I had to be excellent in everything I did. And I remember this one time I came home and it was the end of the year, the school year, and I got excellent on all of my classes. And at that point in time, it wasn't graded like 100 or 89. No, it was just excellent or bad or good. And I remember telling my mom, Mom, I got excellent in every signature? That's not how you call it. What is it? Like every
Class?
class. Yeah, I got excellent in every class. And she was like, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. Literally, no reaction. And I was like,
I'm
okay,
proud of you, Lai.
I guess. So from that moment, I think I was like, okay, I have to do more. I was like, being excellent is not enough. I have to do more because I need to have people's approval, especially my parents. Like, you were looking up to your parents. And, eventually I learned that's not the right mentality to have and to not be a people pleaser. But that's where it starts, like your relationship with your parents and trying to please them and trying to be everything they want you to be instead of being who you want to be. I think that's something that a lot of young people go through.
Exactly. And that kind of bleeds over not only just into how you show up with your friendships, but also how you show up in other relationships as well. And I don't know if as you were going through your youth, if you had any particular relationships or you wish you would have handled things differently on that level.
Yeah, actually, there's one, and it wasn't even a relationship because I didn't let it be a relationship. And that's actually something that I would do different. And it was with what you would call like your first love, your first young teenage love. I was 14. And I remember I met him one night and I was, wow, starstruck. And my mom didn't let me have a boyfriend until 15. So I was like, I can't have a boyfriend right now. Like, this is bad. This is not gonna happen. And I remember meeting him, and he told me, I was like, no, you need to ask your mom. Like, we need to be together. I'm 14. And I was fully prepared to ask my mom. I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask her. I'm gonna ask her if I can have a boyfriend now. It's only a year from 15. I don't think it's gonna be an issue. And then that was a Friday when I met him. On Monday, I remember I got to school and he was on another school that was right in front of my school. So it was the same grade, but two different schools right in front of each other. And I got to school and people knew about him and they knew him. And they started telling me all these horror stories about what a horrible person he is and what a whore he
At
is and how,
14?
yes, I mean, girl, it's Cuba. Like, yeah, what a whore he is and how he's only like, jumping from one woman to another. And at 14, never been in a relationship, never been with anybody. I was really scared. Like, one of my biggest fears in my teenage years was for somebody to take advantage of me and like play me, basically. Like, I did not want that to happen. So I closed myself off and I was like, okay, no, I am not doing this with this guy. Absolutely not. And that Monday, he told me he was going to go see me to my school after school. And he went and I literally walked right past him. I walked right past him and he kept calling my name and I kept walking. It was actually so funny because we were on this street already. We were out of school and I kept walking faster and faster and faster. He kept calling my name. And eventually I turned and I said, what? What do you want?
You knew what you wanted at a very young age, the boundaries were there. You said all or nothing.
No, honestly, no. I was just scared. And okay, now I'm not going to again to a story, although it's very funny. But the point of the story is what I learned from that was I would do that differently though, because I got scared because of what people said to me about him, and I didn't even give him the chance to actually, be with me, or like who knows what could have happened. Maybe he would have been a terrible person. Maybe he would have changed, or maybe he would have been just like serious with me. Nobody knows because I didn't give him the chance. And what I learned from that was don't jump so fast into conclusions, even just get to know the person and give them a chance at least. Because, at the end of the day, we ended up being not together for 6 months, but I didn't give him the chance to be in a relationship because I was too scared. So I don't want to do that again. Like I want to give people a chance even when I'm scared of, okay, so this might not be perfect. Nothing's perfect in life, but let's give this a chance and let's see what it goes. Okay.
That's fair.
I know. Now, for you, Audrey, do you have any like red flags that you ignore that you wouldn't ignore now? Like little Audrey would see some red flags.
I sure would hope she would.
Like I sure would hope she's not that stupid again.
I know. I'm like, if I could give her some advice, man, would I? But for some reason, I just had all these insecure men, and now I see that, and I mean, I turn away because it's like, oh, maybe with a little love, No, that's something they have to fix
I
on
can
their own.
fix them. I can fix them.
Percent. So that's like when it pops into my mind, I'm like, you know what? We have to stay away from the insecure man because it's not like you need to have confidence in yourself is something that first off is just attractive to be around. But that's something that you learn and somebody else shouldn't put that on you. So
Mm-hmm.
I no longer want to be around a man that doesn't have confidence in himself. And um, I think that's something as well as we're young, it's a battle anyways, just to learn that for your own, but to meet someone who also has that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for you, did you struggle with anything in specific about like when it comes to your confidence?
My confidence. Okay, we're talking about little
It's like I
us.
semi know the answer to this, but
We're talking about the little us. I would say I don't want to say never because that's like a really like strong, oh, you've never thought anything negatively about yourself. I'm like, that's not it. But I have a very different view on confidence. Again, growing up in Cuba was very different. And this is something that I actually tell my friends now because when they meet me, the first thing that people say is like, oh, wow, you seem very confident. And I started hearing that a lot. And I was like, okay, why? Why do they see me like this? I grew up in Cuba. There was no social media, there was no comparison. Like, we didn't compare each other. There were skinny people, fat people, short people, old people, whatever, but we never stuck and like paid attention to those things or like fixated on that. So I grew up in a very healthy way where nobody would just like compare to each other. And I think that's where the main root of confidence like comes from, is comparing yourself to other people. And social media is the root of all evil when it comes to comparison. So growing up in Cuba without internet and without having access to social media really made a difference because I it wasn't even a conversation. Confidence, self-worth, which is a topic that many people here in the US and in the world struggle with, and people are always learning about these things. In Cuba, honestly, it was never a conversation. It was never a thought. We never thought about it like that. So it's just a very, very different mindset. But what I would say is confidence needs to come from within you and from who you are and from doing the things that you say you're going to do, from treating people right. Don't get fixated on the physical aspect. Just if you know in your core that you're a good person and you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing and you're trying your best, that should be it. Don't overthink it and don't compare ever. What about
yeah.
you? Anything on confidence?
Yeah, I think my parents were really good at fueling me with self-confidence and I think sheltering from that world of comparison that you were mentioning.
That's good.
But I remember vividly in middle school, it's like the first time I noticed it was in the girls' bathroom, and they were all like standing in front of the mirror, just like, "Oh, I want to fix this. I don't like this." So, and there wasn't anything I thought about that was like, "Oh, I wish I could fix this." Because I
Okay.
was just
That's
liked who
good.
I was confident in myself.
That's good.
Now, as I've gotten older and more social media and more comparison has gone out there, now I have more difficulty with self confidence. And it's hard to think
That's what I'm
how,
saying, bro. The root of all evil.
yeah, it's hard because it's like, oh, I want to be here. I want to be at that level. I want to be doing this. I want to be doing that. Oh, I wish I had this. I didn't have that growing up. And it's like, how can I get back to her? That's the one thing I want to pull back from my childhood. How do I
Aw.
get back to that mindset of just being like, yeah, she was a little baddie. She did not care. She strapped up that back brace and was like, let's roll
Well,
out.
Audrey, let me tell you that that little baddie, it's you. You don't have to pull her from anywhere. It's inside of you. Just gonna say that.
I'm gonna start tearing up live. I
Now,
start,
something I do want to say, like to my little young self about love, is that something I learned obviously now. So I would say to her that whatever you give is not always where you're going to get, but it's always where you are. It's always where you are, it's always who you are. So I would say to her, don't be afraid to give the best of you in every situation and relationship and to get nothing in return. Don't be afraid to get nothing in return. That is on them, not on you. And to never change the way you show up for people and love people based on what people do to you, because that's a reflection of them and not on you. And that's something I had to learn because I was like, I don't know if you've ever been in this position where if you loved somebody and got hurt, which I know you were, some people changed and let that change them and the way they now love other people or present themselves to other people because they need to be harder and protect their heart. Like for me, I just learned if you just love the way you love and don't let how other people love you or are to you, don't go and do that to somebody else. That's says more about them than it says about you.
yeah, I definitely, I mean, from our last podcast, still that affected me to the point of like I have to unlearn that of like,
Mm.
hey, the new people I'm meeting aren't that person. But unfortunately, there's still some bad apples. Maybe I still need to protect my peace. It's like you do have to learn from those examples to make sure you're not meeting those same people again, because not everyone deserves all of you. Like they have to
Yeah,
earn the time, earn your full personality and your who you are,
for sure.
because that's valuable. You can't just go giving that out to people.
Oh no, no, don't over give at the wrong times. That's another thing. Like don't over give. But what I'm saying is don't get hard based on what other people do to you. Don't change in that way. But giving, yeah, don't give everything when you meet somebody. That's not the time. Like there's a time for everything. Get to know each other, integrate your lives little by little. Not okay, we met
Full
yesterday, we're
force.
doing everything together. No, don't do
Yeah,
that. That's not good.
yeah.
I
It was
know.
kind of makes me think of what do you think was your biz like your biggest strength growing up?
My biggest strength?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I would say that my little me biggest strength was that her strength was keeping many people around her together, not just her. So being strong, it didn't only benefit her, but it benefited other people around her. And that's something that I can only see now. Because back then it was like, why is everything on me? Or why am I having to be the strong one here just to keep myself together? But me being that person kept other people too. And not only in my family, but friends that I'm now finding out because, I was going through some stuff and the way that I was going through the stuff I help them too indirectly. And that's a beautiful thing because you never know who you're impacting. You may know years later, but it's good to think back and think, okay, you know what? I did good and I'm proud of myself for sticking it through.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect. Like you don't know. It's like the whole like butterfly flapping its wings, creates a storm somewhere else. So
Yes.
you never know what your impact is. So I'm like always smile at people, always like no matter what you're going through,
Yeah.
just because you don't know what it's gonna do to their
Yeah.
life.
You
So
really don't know. The other day, this is completely off topic, but the other day, it kind of relates to what you were saying. The other day, I was at a wine tasting party. Very fun. It was very fun. I missed you there for sure. But there was this guy, Greg, 67 years old. He was actually doing like the wine tasting. He would bring us the wine and explain everything. And he actually gave me a little bit more wine than anybody else because I was asking him questions about himself. Like I was very interested in him and I was like, "Okay, you did that. Oh my god, how did that happen?" or whatever. And I remember the first time that I asked him or I looked at him in the eyes and I was like, "Sir, what's your name?" And he looked at me like very deeply like, "Oh wow, you see me." It's like it's just the little things, just taking interest in people and random strangers sometimes like you can make their day and it doesn't cost anything at all.
Yeah, it's like when you see someone at the supermarket and they have the little name tags. I always like saying their
Hmm.
name because you can see like their face changes too. It's like someone's name. It's so important to them that it's almost healing.
Yeah. Okay, Audrey, this is a very interesting question now. If you could whisper one sentence to your younger self during her lowest moment, what would it be?
I would tell myself just to give myself grace because there's going to be so many ups and downs in life that you just have to give yourself a little grace. I mean,
Preach.
exactly. I mean, do you have something off the top of your head that you would tell yourself?
My younger self during my lowest moment, I would tell her, because I honestly, when you said that, like, or when I said that, the lowest moment, I thought of one night in specific, and I would go back and tell her she was crying, like on fetal position in the kitchen of her house. And I would tell her everything's meaningless for real. Like everything's meaningless. So don't sweat anything and just live every day, finding the joy in the little things and the little moments in life. Never wrong anybody intentionally, and everything's gonna be okay.
You know, I like that. Actually, I heard a quote the other day. I wrote it down. Hold on, where's she at? It's like, until death, all defeat is psychological.
It's 100% true. 100%. Lord,
Little
Lord.
golden nugget there. Anyways,
I
we
know.
love quotes. I have so many tiny little sticky notes across my desk of, hey, there's this, there's that, and
Yeah.
they come in and out. Today or this
Yeah.
week's thanks to my new creator is be fucking savage. That one's gonna stay there for a while. I love that. Every morning I'm just like, mm-hmm.
I don't know what this is, but this.
Yes.
Now, going a little bit into like setbacks and things when you thought you failed, maybe, what setback do you think shaped you the most?
Probably what we were touching on a little bit earlier with the health piece
Mm.
because I was super athletic. I was in ballet, tap, dance, soccer, basketball, gymnastics. All I did was sports.
Nice.
And so having that fallout and losing that piece of me of like, oh, I was this
Yeah.
athletic kid who like all my friends were in that and to it transitioned me to having more of an academic mindset, which ultimately changed completely the trajectory I was on. I mean, I probably could have been a college athlete and who knows what would have happened versus
Who knows?
it completely just slingshotted me to focusing on my education and doing research. And so it was a huge setback. But ultimately, I know I wouldn't be where I was today if I would have kept down the athletic path. And it really took smacking that gym floor to
We
switch
would
that.
not be here right now. I would have never met you.
Yeah, it's
So,
so crazy how little moments can just change
your
something that
life
was
forever.
devastating at the time. Now I can
Yeah.
look back and be like, you know what? We have a lot to be grateful for because of it. So
100%. On that same topic of like setbacks and challenges, is there any failure like felt devastating to you at the moment, but now you're looking at it and you were like, okay, that makes sense.
100%. Once I did switch into academics, I was so hard on myself.
Hmm.
I wanted everything to be perfect. And when I did go to a community college, I had a perfect like 4.0 GPA.
Yeah.
And I started at 13 and went till I was 17 because I was doing part time while I was in high school. And it was my last semester, it was like organic chem 2 or something. And I got an A minus. So it bumped my GPA down. I was so sad. I came home. I was I ended up graduating like top 4 of the class. Should have been excited. Should have been like 100%. That should have been the success. But since I
Yeah.
dropped below a 4.0 GPA, I remember coming home crying and my dad probably thought somebody died and I was like I missed a 4.0 GPA by point zero 0.02. Point zero 0.02. And it was such a big deal for me at the time. And now
Yeah.
looking back, I was like, that messed up a
It
whole
was
week of my
nothing.
life. It was
It was so little. It
nothing.
was nothing. Honestly, and I
It
feel you.
disrupted
I feel
everything.
you so much. I no, honestly, like I can feel your pain. And yes, everything else was perfect. But for you, that one thing was like that was it. It was like the end of your life. And I know how you feel, and I'm not gonna go into the whole story now, but with my SATs, I have a horror story with my SATs because I didn't even know what an SAT was because I did it like 2 months after I moved here from Cuba. So I didn't even know what the SAT was in that time. I was only in school for like a month and a half. And then I get to school and I go to my first period and there's no one there. And teacher's like, oh, you have your SATs today. Yeah, if you don't pass, you just don't go to college and be a failure in life. And I was like,
No
what?
way. That is a cruel way to find out because that is a long test. That's something like you
And
prepped the
I
day
went
before.
running. I went running to the building where I had to take the test. First of all, I got called out for wearing a shirt that showed a piece of my shoulder. So I had to go and get one of those.
Scandalous.
Yes, I know. Wow. I had to go and get one of those PE shirts. And then I started taking the test. I didn't even had a scientific calculator. Thank goodness I had just come from Cuba because in Cuba you're not allowed to use calculators for anything. So I still had all the calculations fresh in my mind because we used to do them by hand. You could see that like my SAT paper was full of like calculations all over the borders of the paper. And I went home and I was crying desperately for like 3, 4 hours, and my sister was outside my room knocking, and she was like, "Look what happened!" I was like, "My life is over."
I'm not going anywhere. The teacher said this was the test.
I'm looking back at it, I'm like, that was so stupid.
Well, you weren't really set up for success. Like, why didn't somebody tell you?
Well, anyways, we're
That's
we're
criminal.
past it, and I actually did pass it on the first try. So
Man, queen without a calculator too.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just being able to learn from your past experiences and then look at it from a fresh perspective. I think that's the easiest looking back to as at your younger self is like, okay, what good can we pull from these things? And
yeah.
I mean, if you could go back and talk to your younger self about things like rushing life and just enjoying the moment, what would you tell her?
Yeah. If I could see little lie, I would say if I could see the lie at 19 years old, mind you, I'm 24. If I could see myself at 19, I would tell myself that there's going to be a point in her very early 20s that she's going to feel an external pressure to have every little aspect of her life together, and not having it meant that she was failing, but to not fear, honestly, because she will eventually learn that figuring it out as she goes and enjoying the process is the point. And there's never going to be an I made it moment because that would mean she's dead. And that's what I think now. Like, as long as she's alive, there will be problems, there will be blessings, sadness, joy, whatever. And that's the point because that means she's alive and everything is a part of the human experience. And so just take it a day at a time. That's what I would tell my younger self.
Yeah, it's such good feedback. It's like that's why I like writing a future letter to yourself because it almost can work like that because you really
Yeah,
can't go back and tell your younger self like, hey girl, you're doing great.
I
You
know.
just
What
have to
about
tell yourself that
you?
now.
What about you? If your younger self could see you right now, what would you think she would be proud of?
You know, I really need this question because I've been so hard on myself recently, and there is a lot to be proud of. And even this week's kind of a big week for me because this Thursday is technically the anniversary of my, well, not technically, it is the anniversary of my car accident. And looking back, I'm like, how far I've come to even just be doing a podcast. I mean, at that, I
I
don't know how
know.
long ago, that was 4 years ago. I couldn't repeat words. I couldn't repeat 3 words back to someone. So now we're just like, I have my moments where I'm like, well, where are we? That's just in general. But just to be proud that, I was able to build a life for myself and be out on my own. And yes, I have my bad days and I call my dad and I'm tearing up crying, like, I don't know what I'm doing. But that's part of the learning process. And
I know. Don't we all?
now, yeah, I don't thank goodness my family hears so much from me. I mean, you guys do too, but I have my crash outs, and it's something that happens. It's part of the trip of success. Is you have ups and
Yeah.
downs and arounds and starts over, and just appreciating what you have achieved and slow down for a moment and be like, okay, this is this is what I've done. So I wish younger me could know that and just be like, you know what? Enjoy it. Relax. You're doing great, sweetie. Everything's going to work out. That North Star blemish will go away.
Yes, and that makes me think about when we're 30 and we're looking back at this podcast, even we're gonna see our little us talking about things, and we're probably gonna think, oh, yeah, no, that was totally wrong. But it's gonna be very cool to see each other grow up. Honestly, I would tell my younger self something that she would be proud of. I think she would be so incredibly proud of everything that she's done in life by herself, despite being a community and people driven person. Just seen herself many, many times just doing things on her own. And everything she's done, it's been by her own merit, and no one can take that away from her. And even though it's been hard, or at times where I'm like, man, I wish I had somebody, and I'm not talking about somebody in a romantic relationship. I'm just saying in general. There's families where like very united and like doing everything together. And I had that at one point. I don't anymore. But still, like seeing out everything that I've accomplished and where I am today just by myself, I think little me would be very, very proud.
As she should. You've done so much. So now you
I
have.
know. I passed the SAT. God damn it.
Without a calculator. Good for you. That is a key point. We are very reliant on our calculators here in the States. But hey, now we have AI, so we don't need
No,
the SAT.
even less of a reason to think. Just don't use your brains at all.
But I'm glad we could cover this because I think there is so much judgment, especially as you're young and trying to figure out yourself, and just being able to have that moment to reflect and be like, okay, I'm thankful for how far I've gone, but also as we're looking forward, we should be thankful for the present too, because that's only going to help our future selves. And when we're having this conversation, be like, oh, in our 20s, this was the things we were worried about. We can still lay that foundation now to, just be grateful of where we're at and where we're going.
100%. I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves for who we used to be or the mistakes we've made. But that version of us was doing the best they could with what they had at that moment. And they learned from it, and that's it. And staying in regret or making a pity party every now and then is not going to do anything for you. Just learn from it and move on.
I love a good pity party though. But yes, we don't need to judge ourselves. We just need to be appreciative and thankful for the opportunities and have gratitude, because without the mistakes, without, her growth, her courage, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Exactly. So, Audrey, an old fashioned closing style for us. Before we close, what does it look for you to not quit right now?
I think I'm just going to carry what I've been saying. Just like keep pushing on. I mean, it's a rocky road. This is a very rocky season for me, and we had a great day today. So thank goodness.
Amazing.
But it's just, I can't get to a good day if I'm not pushing through. If we quit and we back up because it's getting hard, that's not how I'm going to be able to start my own business and achieve the things I want to be doing by having a quitter's mindset. So we're just keep on pushing on. And this podcast is like my little therapy sessions.
It really is. I love Monday evenings. It's like my favorite day of the week.
It's so nice. But I mean, for you, what's not quitting looking like for you right now?
It's giving myself grace in some periods, giving myself grace and reminding myself, especially what we were talking about today, you're doing a lot better than you think you're doing when you actually take a minute to look at the things that you've done or where you're at or what have you gotten off of that maybe wasn't good for you and you decided to quit and move on even though it was hard. So just giving grace to yourself, not grace with pity, just grace with like, you know what? It's good. Take a moment. You're doing great. You're going to do better tomorrow. And that's it. If this episode resonated with you at all, we hope you take a moment this week to speak kindly to your younger self and take a minute to reflect on everything you've accomplished because she got you here. And we will see you in the next episode. Bye.